Hi there, this is Fileva with the Expert Coach. Now, a couple of months ago, I recorded a few interviews with some amazing coaches, and now I'm restarting those. So today I'm with Vasilis, who is a spiritual and relationship coach, and he's gonna tell us a little bit more about what he does.
Hey.
So, hey Vasilis, so what is it that you do? Are you more of a spiritual coach or relationship? Tell me what you do.
Okay, so for the past 18 years, I've been a spiritual coach where I'm training people around Reiki, how to do meditation, how to do channeling. I've worked with Doreen Virtue's angel cards for a while, and in general, I would say I help people guide them through life, connect with their higher being. Okay, and find their purpose in life and what their gift is. And for the past 2 years, I've also started working more around relationships and guiding how people to make their relationships work better, reignite the feelings that they had before, that, you know, as the years go by, for some, the embers go a bit down, and make people being happy being in a relationship, how to communicate better, and overall as a partnership or as a family to have a better life. Because everybody wants to have a better life with a partner and enjoy a long-lasting relationship that will bring them happiness in the end.
Sure, of course. So is that your main focus now? Is it mostly relationships?
Yes.
Okay. And where does it come from? Does it come from a personal story that you have?
It comes from my personal story, because I used to be married for a couple of years and it didn't work out, kind of broke my heart, and I didn't want people to go...
Sorry to hear that.
It's okay, it happens, part of life.
Yeah,
but I didn't want people to go through what I went through, because in the beginning I went through my grief, my anger, my resentment, all the stages that you go through every time you have a big breakup in your life. But what I did, I transformed that into a lesson. You know, I sat down, I wrote down my lists of what went well, what didn't went well, and I wanted this to transform as a lesson for other people, so they can make also the relationships better, make the relationships work, avoid the mistakes that I did. Although I know that these mistakes were because every relationship is kind of unique, let's say. I know the mistakes that I did were for me, but there are always some commonalities that go around. So I'm kind of guiding people how to communicate better, be more responsible, live with integrity, honor the word, what they say that they will do what they will say that they will do. And that's it, basically. After you start doing these things, everything starts to go into flow.
So it's taking responsibility as well for what you do, rather than expecting the other person to do something, right? Because a lot of people come from that place of he or she isn't doing that or isn't being that, and you teach people how to take responsibility for the relationship and become the person they need to become to have the relationship they want to have.
Yes,
is that right?
Because we say we have two tongues. One is on our mouth, what we say, and the other one is on our right foot, which is what we do based on what we say. And so most people they live with one tongue and they don't follow with the second one. It's a big thing to be living up to your word and honoring your word. Not some people might not appreciate what you do for them, but you appreciate yourself. You know, the self-respect, self-growth, self-courage, all these things come together when you start honoring your word and how you treat other people based on how you treat yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's a quick advice you'd give to whoever's watching us right now? The first thing, the easiest thing they can do to shift something in their relationship immediately?
Accept that they do mistakes. Accept and be responsible for whatever they say, even when they know that it's not exactly how things have happened, let's say, in a situation. Bear in mind that when you want to be in a relationship, okay, you need to mind first of all how you occur to the other person. So you need to own the responsibility for whatever you do and you say.
Yeah.
Especially when you love the person that you are with, and you need to make compromises within that space in order for a relationship to last. And the reason for that is you always need to have a look on what is the bigger picture. Because you might have days that are good, you might have days that are bad, but what is the bigger picture? Do you see yourself being with that person 5 years from now, having children together? If you can see that, then you will make these compromises, because you give some space from your side for the person, you give some space, that person needs to give some space for you in order to make things happen, because we're living in a very, very busy society, very demanding society. There's a lot of competition, plus there's hundreds of distractions going on, and it's really hard to keep a relationship going. Yes, people need to work. It's not like swipe left or swipe right. You need to work for it because yes, it's true because
Very true.
it's a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And
It's
because
an
people want to.
ongoing, never-ending process.
Yes, and
Ongoing.
you hear a lot of the time people saying, like, oh, I saw him and I fell for him, or I saw her and she's like the rainbow in my dark days. Yeah, that's a start, where you start from, but you need to still work for it in order to make it work. And this is where the communication comes. And through that communication so it is the beginning. Then you need to take action together. You need to start thinking for two, because from the moment you are with someone else, it's not about you anymore, it's about the other person. Because that the first stage is I am in a relationship, so I don't think about me anymore, I think for the other person. Then you have one kid, then you have two kids, and the thing that says that it's not about me anymore, this thing multiplies more and more. And then you can see it when you go like in a business, and the more your business grows, it's not about you, it's about how you serve other people. And this brings it back to having a relationship or have children, how you serve your family. And this takes us to the next stage, like from the side of a father, you need to have 5 certain qualities to be considered a good father. And for a woman, there are some other qualities as well that you need to work on. But that's like a bigger conversation.
Yeah, so you help people with that as well. You help them
all
see
this.
what types of qualities are sort of expected from them or they need to bring to
Yes.
the table,
I take them
especially for their kids.
step by step.
Yeah.
I take them step by step, all this process, what I need to do. Some people might have heard from Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages. And these apply to married couples, singles, apply to parents, apply how parents communicate to the teenagers or to the younger ones.
Yeah.
5 basic aspects of communication: how you express your feelings to other people and how this reciprocates within a partnership, within a relationship, and so on and so on.
So sometimes we do our best, right? And we take responsibility for our actions. Sometimes we take it to an extreme where we feel guilty about a lot of things, but that's probably something you can help people with as well. But what happens do you encounter situations when someone does take responsibility, but then they just don't get the response they want, like they don't get the understanding from the other person? What happens then? Sometimes, even when you do your best, it's not about you. So
Okay.
what do you do then?
So, as I was saying earlier, like people have different ways of communicating, okay, in terms of their feelings. And as I said, as an example for me, it's like words of affirmation. So it's not about how you treat me, it's more about how you speak to me, that and how that makes me feel. And for someone else, for you, for example, might be acts of service. So you're coming tired from work, you cook a meal, and for some reason you feel much more happy and alive and more expressed, because in your mind, in that moment, you give the command, oh, he sacrificed something.
Go an extra mile, yeah.
The extra mile, exactly that word, yeah. So, and that for you means something, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what has helped me solve some issues in some of my relationship, because I ask in that moment how things are occurring for you, how things are happening, and what is more important, what did I do wrong? Because unless you communicate, that it's really important. If you can communicate,
There's no way to know otherwise.
Exactly. And if you can communicate with the person that you are with, in terms of not as a couple but as 2 individuals, where you don't put feelings, you don't put the opinions, you just put the facts. And based on the facts, you start like unfolding the situation and trying to see what works, what doesn't work. Because you might have started an argument one day, and the person you're arguing with is not the base, is not the center of the situation. It might be something that happened on the way home or something that happened at work. You just feel like maybe I said something, triggered you, and then you exploded, which has happened in the past to me. And then I didn't get angry. I just said, okay, calm down, just let me know, let's take it from the beginning, what happened. And as it unfolded, we ended up being really cool and calm, and ended up being a really nice evening. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you want the relationship to last, you need to be able to see the bigger picture all the time. Otherwise, the relationship won't last.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the person might not want to put the effort because they're tired, because they're disappointed from previous relationships and so on. But if they see you putting the effort, being the vivid and alive person, and like pushing a bit in a good way, usually they come around. Especially when they start seeing that this person is doing something for me, So I mean something to him, and they appreciate. Well, if they don't appreciate, though, on the other hand, let's say, then you don't need, as my grandmother was saying to my mom, It was like, you don't need a man to tell you twice that he doesn't want you in order for you to go. Same applies for men. You don't need somebody to tell you 2 times. One is enough. If they're not for you, they won't be for you. Bye-bye.
Right. So how do you know when do you, until what time, until what point do you work in the relationship, and when do you know that it's not right for you? Is that something that you
I would say
discuss with your clients?
I would say, okay, my idea is like, don't give up. As long as you believe that it's worth it, you don't give up. And the reason being, most of the time you do it for you. You know that you so that you know that you have done everything you could in order to make it work. And then if the person still says like, you know what, I'm not interested anymore, I don't want to be in communication, then you give them the space. Always give them the space, because sometimes what happens, someone might like you, might love you, or whatever, but because you keep pushing them to give you an answer, to explain to you, that makes them actually angry, and they go more into they push back more as well.
Defense mode, yeah.
And what happens is that this is counterproductive for both of you, because then they don't want to see you at all, just because they know that you're going to push them.
Yeah.
Sometimes all we want in a relationship, especially in long-term relationships, we want just some space for ourselves, some time alone, to gather our thoughts and what is important to us. And that's another beautiful thing with a couple that knows each other, that they are able to give each other the space that they need.
Yeah, yeah. And people that value each other as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting you touched on something earlier, how we carry things from the past, from past relationships. I think it's so true. We carry a lot of baggage usually from the past, and we create this blueprint of the world of how relationships or people, men or women are, and then we always project them onto the next and the next and the next partner, and that can be destructive in many ways.
Yes, it's basically, as we say, that our past is in our future. Because let's say you're 18, you have a relationship with someone, they break your heart, and you make a decision in that moment where you say, I'm not gonna let my heart ever be broken again.
Yeah.
So every future decision you make from then on is that you don't give your full out. You don't play full out in your relationship, because you're like, oh, what if he breaks my heart again? And then you reach 30, 38, 40 years old, and you realize that you have lost so much beautiful moments in your life based on a decision you did when you were 18. So you are like 40 years old, and you operate through the mind of an 18-year-old, but that's not you. And the next person that comes every time, they're not necessarily going to treat you the same way like the previous one, because it's all in the communication, it's all in the language. If you're clear to someone, as you know where you're going, you have your goals, you're really set, and you know why you want them in your life and what they mean to you by being in your life, then you won't repeat your past. No way you're going to repeat your past. And even if the relationship doesn't work in the future, that person will remember you as someone who knew what they wanted, who knew what they were going for. They were crystal clear in the communication from the beginning. It didn't work because we didn't have maybe the same goals or something else that was occurring at the time, but they will respect you.
Absolutely. And you might just change them for the better, and unknowingly you might actually influence them for the better, and that's the best part.
Well, you don't know what you're going to influence them. You only know yourself and how you can behave.
Yeah, and the problem with everything in life, not just relationships, is that because we are so geared towards protecting ourselves, towards survival, we tend to generalize our little failures. Like you said, when you're 18 years old, you got your heart broken, you never want that to happen again, you try to protect yourself, and you end up losing out, as you mentioned. And the key to success, I once read, is in compartmentalizing our failures. So saying that was a one-off, it doesn't mean it's going to ever happen again. It's not that all men or women are bad and they're going to break my heart. It was just one-off. And generalizing our successes. So generalizing for a relationship, that would mean generalizing the beautiful moments or the good things in people, and cherishing those good values that you find in people. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Yeah.
Yes, what you just said reminded me of the Bohemian Rhapsody, when we saw the movie where Freddie, at some point, there was a scene in the movie when he said it's not about the performer, it's about the performance. And that reminded me of what you just said, that if one relationship goes wrong, it doesn't mean that you as a performer within a relationship you're wrong. It's just the performance wasn't right at the moment. That doesn't mean the performer is not good at what they do. Then you go to the generalized, okay, but I've been good up until now in other relationships. That's true. But it's always, even from your mistakes, always good to see what lessons you can get out of it, so you can next time be a better performer in the soul that's called life, and in the hand to be find the right person for you and have a happy ever after.
Absolutely. It's all about it's life. Everything is a performance, right? And we learn to get better at it. We learn to be a better performer.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to add? And how can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Okay, if people want to find me, I have my business page on Facebook. You can find me under v.Tsitsivos coaching.
How do you spell that?
It's v.tsivos
Okay.
coaching.
That as well. Foreign names, never easy.
Yeah, and below the video I'll have a link to my email if people want to come in contact with me and they can ask me any information.
Yeah.
And okay, the last piece of advice I would want to say in terms of relationship is, if you how you know like a relationship is really good and it's gonna last, okay, is that people think in terms of big. In terms of relationship, like let's go out, let's go and do this, buy them expensive gifts, spend the whole weekend or 1 week of holidays, 2 weeks of holidays together. Yes, in one way it is this, but the truth of the matter is that it's in the details. When I say the details, it's like you need to go down to the basics, the habits. You have certain habits, the person has certain habits. If your habits are about 60-70% at least the same, that means that you're gonna have good times where you won't fight, you won't have too many arguments, because the habitual ways, the natural pace in which your body operates based on your habits you have is similar to the person that you're right next to. If you have entirely different habits and saying like one is a night person, the other one is an early morning person, the other person loves chicken, the other person loves pork, one is Christian, the other one is Muslim, like different cultures, different experiences in life, you're gonna struggle. And then again it's again about communication if you want to make it work. But the truth of the matter is the habits, the everyday habits that you have, the more you have habits in common, they define you as a person, and based on that is what you attract. So you need to be aware of like the type of person you attract. That's it from me.
That's lovely. I think habits definitely define us for not just relationships. Habits definitely define us in everything. So yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna delete that part. Okay. Let's do the last bit again. How do they find it? Because I mixed the two questions I shouldn't have. Thank you so much, Vasilis, for this wonderful conversation. So if people wanted to hear more of your advice, or if they wanted some coaching on mentoring on relationships, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay, so then people can find me, they can send me an email on my email, which is tsivos@gmail.com, or they can find me on my business page on Facebook for the time being, which is again v.tsivos coaching, where I have more videos, because I have a link also to YouTube channel. They can watch more of my videos and around coaching in relationships and spirituality as well. These are the basic two platforms where they can get in contact with me.
Okay, thank you so much. I will post all these links below the video as well, so you can get in touch with Vasilis if you need some help with your relationships. And in the meantime, keep working towards becoming the best version of yourself. Keep working towards becoming the best version of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.